Live. Hello, family. How are you doing? And this is
I'm
another probably an area where you're looking me popping up in your social media or probably on LinkedIn or YouTube or any other places. I'm thinking, okay, what's new? Who and what and all these things, right? And before I can talk about the structure of today's discussion, I just want to talk to you about if you have a startup or you have initiated a startup or you are already working as an entrepreneur or you have got any business, if you have earned any 1 rupee also in your entire life, and now due to this lockdown, I'm sure there is a sense of fear of the unknown, the fear of when it's going to come out of it, when it's going to take over. And I thought the biggest fear is about the investments that you have done in your respective ventures, yourself, your startups, and all these things. And I had a tough time to find the right person who can answer this. And after a lot of browsing and a lot of identifying, then I bumped into probably, and I think, a source of a lot of answers. And let me welcome Rahul Narvirkar today. Rahul, welcome to the show.
Hi.
Just to give you a kind of a small introduction, actually, it's a big introduction. Detailed, 16 by 16 screen is required. But whatever little of my knowledge I can understand. So he is India's first local language startup. He's been like designing this incubation centers for the startup, and he is rightfully calling it as the Y Combinator of the rural India. Not only that, this gentleman, has actually invested on various other platforms, and he is the person who has not only helped startups, but he is also creating something which is called as the Local Language Startups Foundation, or you can say the incubators, and basically the Shiv Sena of startup, as he rightly says. So with that, probably in a kind of a half-structured introduction, I would rather give the mic to Rahul. Rahul, I think you can do a better job than me. I'm very sorry about, because there are a
No.
lot
I
of
think you've
things.
done a fairly decent job.
Please go ahead.
Basically, my latest adventure is called Startup Studio. It is India's first local language incubator.
Right.
We are starting with Marathi, but very quickly we'll get into other languages. I think Gujarati should be next, then Konkani, Punjabi, Kannada, Manipuri, everything. We want to go deeper into what is called Bharat, not India.
Right.
This came out of a journey I've been on since 2016.
Okay.
So 2016, I exited my last active startup, which was called IndianRoots.com. This was an e-commerce company in partnership with NDTV, where we were selling Indian apparel to Indians outside India. So primarily US, UK, Canada, Australia, all over the world actually.
Okay.
And this was, and I've, if you Google my journey, I keep calling myself Ganpati's favorite child because I've had a pretty interesting life so far. Started from the chawls of Mumbai. I'm a premature baby, so 7 months. So I had low immunity for most of my life. And since my first job in life was as a ward boy in a hospital in the night shift in a place called Mulund in Bombay. That time it was Bombay. Hated that job, unfortunately, because I saw it as a dead-end job. But very fortunately, very early in life, I got hooked onto the habit of reading, which is what I call my superpower. So at a very young age, growing up in the slums of Mumbai, I was blessed to have had a Raddiwala, scrap dealer across the road, who had all the old issues of Fortune, Time, Newsweek, Life Magazine, Tom Clancy, Harold Robbins, all that. So I got hooked onto reading there, and that sort of opened up a new world for me, which was not in my physical geography that time. And then what happened was, and this is of course before the era of Google, I'm talking about the 70s. So luckily I became an interesting time pass item because I knew something about everything. So people would always call me to tell them some interesting gossip or information or whatever. But that sort of translated into a door-to-door sales as my first proper job. Did lots of sales jobs. Then in 1992, 93, I got selected on a full scholarship for India's first formal business entrepreneurship program. So this was started by Professor Joe Phillips, the director of IIM Bangalore at that time, Professor Khandwala, director of IIM Ahmedabad, Professor P.K. Ghosh, who was director of Jamnalal Bajaj, and Y.K. Bhushan of Narsee Monjee, and funded by the Dawoodi Bohra community. 3 years full time, like a regular management program with some entrepreneurial subjects. And then last year, you sort of put together a business plan and build a prototype and what you call an incubator now. That time, that word didn't exist. So I got selected, but it was a compulsory residential program.
Mhm.
So to pay for my hostel fees, I started working from 6:30 in the evening till 2:30 at night with a company called TSN, Teleshopping Network, which
Okay.
was owned by Ronnie Screwvala.
Yeah.
So that is where I sort of got into these two different worlds, where in the day from 10 to 4, I'm theoretically learning the best of entrepreneurship, but it was essentially an MBA program with some entrepreneurs. So basically Philip Cutler, Peter Drucker, and etc. And in the evening, I'm watching this maverick, genuine entrepreneur called Ronnie Screwvala, who was building his empire. So to cut a long story short, that confusion led me to keep questioning, and I got expelled. And I was thrown out, despite being the topper of the batch, by the way,
Wow,
for
that's great.
asking too many questions and being a troublemaker. And one of my professors, I actually fought back. I fought back like hell. So one of my professors, Shakil Ahmed Khan, he actually gave it to me in writing. The last person to be an entrepreneur. The joke is, I'm the only entrepreneur from all the batches who just passed out of that college, by the way. But yeah, that time I was hopping mad. And 6 months after that, I set up my first venture in 94 in the cable advertising space. Then in 98, me and a few friends set up India's first interactive music channel called Channel Oxygen. So 6 of us, limited capital, no capital actually. On a lark, we just got lucky. We set up this channel, started doing about 2.5, 3 crores in revenue. But unfortunately, when we became successful, that became a problem because till the time we were struggling and we were poor, we were the best of partners.
Okay.
And then the moment the money came in, the fame came in, we started fighting on the silliest of things like, why is your picture in the newspaper and not mine? And what are you
Gandhian
doing? I'm the
principle.
one who, I'm the one who actually is slogging for the company and all that nonsense. And unfortunately, we didn't have any mentors or anybody to go for guidance.
Right.
So again, to cut a long story short, it was a lovely ride, 0 crores and then back to zero. And that's when I moved to Delhi because my wife is a Delhi girl and C.
Okay.
Pallavi Rao. So she sort of conned me into moving to Delhi, saying 1 year. And next year we'll move back to Bombay. And it's been 19 years. Bombay has become Mumbai. I'm still in Delhi. But then I started from scratch again, working for a real estate company called Ansal Plaza. Started as a senior manager on a 25,000 rupee salary, year 2001. But fortunately made a crazy sales deal for them as a rainmaker. So got promoted to vice president marketing. Worked for various real estate retail companies till 2009. 2009, I quit my job in DLF to found a company called fashionandyou.com. Fashion and You was a flash sale model, early days of internet in India.
Right.
So we were the first luxury apparel online player.
Yes.
And, October 2010, we raised $8 million from Sequoia Capital. And then quickly again raised $40 million, Sequoia, Nokia, Intel, and MVP. And then there's another 10 million. Then we went on a spree of setting up various ventures. So we were trying to be the rocket internet of India. So we raised about $128 million in total.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, my wife has a medical challenge called myasthenia gravis, which is autoimmune. So she had a relapse. So I had to exit. And the next 1.5, 2 years, I was only in Apollo Hospital. And then when I came back, the world had, of course, changed dramatically. It was Myntra, Jabong, Flipkart. Everybody was miles ahead in fashion e-commerce. That is the time I connected with NDTV, shook hands, and I ended up creating IndianRoots.com. In Indian Roots, the fun part was we were supposed to start it with a seed capital of $3 million, which was 18 crores cash. The last day of the first month, I realized we have no money. The investor is gone. And all I could raise on a very urgent basis was only 84 lakhs cash, which at that point was a little less than $100,000.
Mm-hmm.
Had a lovely 3-year roller coaster ride. We shut down, almost died several times. I remember Google has blacklisted us because we were not able to pay Google the money for SEO, SEM, and all of that. So they blacklisted us for 8 months, and we were an e-commerce company. But we sort of reinvented the rules of e-commerce at that point. Luckily blessed to have had an incredible co-founder called Anish Nair, and of course a lovely team. So all of us sort of learned on the fly, And end of 3 years, I exited. The company was valued at $85 million. So that's
Nice.
my claim to fame today. If you Google me, it's 84
Awesome.
lakhs becoming $85 million. And that's when I was sort of in a dilemma what to do next. Because parallelly, the other journey was that my wife was having multiple surgeries. So in the last 14 years, she's had 8 surgeries. She's an absolute rock star, radiation, chemo, all of that. So because of this 2 parallel things, I sort of looked inward rather than outward and create another unicorn or whatever. And I started traveling across the country. 2016 is when I set up my first structured fund. It's called Scale Ventures. We're a category 1 AIF, SEBI registered. Done about 13 investments, 2 exits. In my individual capacity, I've done a few investments. But then I was traveling across my own country and I discovered that for most of us, like I'm born and brought up in Bombay and now living in Delhi, we don't know our own country because unfortunately, people like me are more comfortable in Singapore or New York than we are in, say, Coimbatore or Jalna or Jalgaon or Ahmednagar. And then when I started this journey is where I realized that for a lot of youngsters, one piece of advice, one phone call from somebody like me can potentially change their lives. So that is when I attempted to build this community called India Network, which, as Amit was saying, I'm trying to build a Shiv Sena for startups. And I use the word Shiv Sena with reference to the way Bala Saheb Thackeray built the Shiv Sena as a community on the ground with a physical presence, not just purely online. Right. And the whole core premise of the Sena was that the community would solve the community's problems.
Right.
So this I sort of realized when, if you remember the Stazilla case, where the founder was put in jail and the entire startup ecosystem, everybody was tweeting about it, social media was, but nobody was there on the ground for that person.
Correct.
At that point, you would use Bala Saheb principle and all the startup founders would have just gone and surrounded at police station or done something on the ground. He probably would not have suffered the way he suffered. So that was my learning that, you need feet on the ground also. And since then I was trying to build this. I did a dumb thing initially by trying to build it on the cloud. So I set up a website. I bullied a lot of my friends to become mentors. And I said, I'll do a Tinder kind of a, matchmaking, mentor meets mentee.
Nice.
And it was a spectacular failure because I realized that for most kids, they don't understand what mentorship is. So 9 times out of 10, when somebody reaches out to me for mentoring, he's saying, boss, check de do. Give me funding. Or they'll tell me, okay, connect me to Vijay Shekhar Sharma and give me his mobile number. Or they'll send me a business plan at 2 a.m. and say, review and revert ASAP. So I realized this is a broken model. So went back to the drawing board. Now what I'm doing is a part of the India Network is this incubator, which is called Startup Studio, where we'll go and pick up raw talent from tier 2, tier 3, tier 4, tier 5 cities. Give them a 7 days classroom training with EDI and all the good campuses around the world pitching in. This will be faculty from the best colleges, but also practicing entrepreneurs, as mentors. And we'll give them a seed capital of anywhere between 50,000, 5 lakhs to 50 lakhs. Then we will give them a hand-holding with the mentors from the relevant industry for the next 6 months, and then help them raise their next round of funding.
Right.
That's the model. We have started with Marathi as our first language, but very quickly, I think we'll go into Gujarati and other languages also. So that's what I'm doing currently.
Awesome. I think Rahul, you have actually shown me the entire movie right now, like how exactly Rahul Narvekar has been there. I can definitely see that the Thackeray of startup world, the startup foundations.
He's a idol to me.
Absolutely.
2 people influenced me very much: Dhirubhai Ambani and Bala Saheb Thackeray.
Nice. So Rahul, if I need to ask you probably in this way, that I've seen, this is a kind of a new breed, and I'm also into the same field. I create entrepreneurs at home, and they think I am mad. And with very little amenities, very little of the support system, I've created something which is the Urban Gurukul system. I'm creating all these things at home, taking the permission of my better half, taking the permission of my in-laws and my mom and dad and parents and the other guys. It is absolutely a rejection always, because you are putting yourself into a furnace and you know that you're going to be burnt. And still I'm thinking, if I come out, I'll be the hardest steel ever. And
part of the game.
Yeah. Now the thing is, there are too many parts and too many puzzles. And unfortunately, no one wants to play. And sometimes, you have got two things. One is like a golden egg and an ugly looking hen that might give a golden egg sometimes, and you have no idea. And you go behind that hen and caress it and clean it and feed it and right time, and ultimately you find, oh God, it's a cock, not a hen also. So I think
looks are overrated.
Yeah, absolutely. And I can understand because uh, making entrepreneurs is a kind of a myth. This is like something, it's a different breed. They don't have this 24/7 attitude. They don't feel pain. They don't feel climate. They don't feel emotions. It's like, it's one mission and they're always on that. And unfortunately, out of, I don't know the statistics, the so-called startups I find might be, people who are linked. They are very highly professional, literate people who are frustrated with their present jobs. They think that they can start up something by their own ideas, and they come out and start doing it. And then they do something called as the 80-20 principle. 20 of their passion, their expertise, their results and experiences, and 80% of all the things that they have never done. Managing a team, probably, doing marketing and sales, managing government taxes and rules and policies and accountants and so many things. This is the 80% of the thing. So what happens is this 80% takes another 10% of the extra tension, and ultimately their main thing diminishes more than 15% now. And this is something we need to reverse somewhere. And there is no other way. They think that is the only way. And now I'm trying to come out with a policy by which you can change this 80-20 to 20-80. 80% of the solid, your ideations and principles and results and experiences and the skills, work probably 8 hours a day, probably work on that, and 2 hours you give it to something like, an automation, delegation, or outsourcing, and you become the authority. Then it is easy for you to sell your name, your brand, your credibility, your product, your service, everything. But the problem right now is no one is daring to take the leap of faith. They're all happy with their own systems. Yeah. And another thing probably I would ask you is, a lot of people I have seen in the journey so far, they create the baby to sell the baby. Now I can see the smile. Please go ahead. You can explain me much more better because
I'll tell you, the couple of things I agree and a couple of things I have a slightly different view on. First and foremost, a lot of times, most of these kids have this perception that you need to have this completely out of the box idea or something completely revolutionary to do a startup. And if you look at most of the successful companies, the idea by itself is worth nothing. It's zero. I mean, I don't put too much weightage on the idea. It's the execution of the idea.
Absolutely.
Okay. So you can pick any great company, from an Amazon to a Facebook to whatever. Most of them were not the first in that category. Okay. It's just that they executed it on a different way. That's one. Two, for a lot of people, it is about perseverance. If you have to just stick it out, and you ride out like this current period. Okay. So a lot of us were like, today, since morning, I'm getting, we thought it'll end on 15th, which got extended. It's extended. So what? Yeah. So a lot of times, if you just stay in the game, and my favorite stuff to a lot of this kid is just whatever is the external circumstance. Get up, dress up, and show up. And if you see a lot of successful startups, they might not be out of the box. They might not be super intelligent. They just kept at it. And when everybody else fell off, they were the last man standing, or they were still, and they took away the whole pie. Right. So a lot of times it's just the basics. One.
Correct.
Two, what you're talking about, I meet a lot of these youngsters who are into it because they think it's the glamorous thing to be a co-founder.
Yes, absolutely.
And that's not true. That's absolutely not true. So I'll see a lot of kids in campus. If they don't get a good placement, they'll say, TKR, what do I tell my peers or my family or my girlfriend? So I'll do a startup. I'll print a business card, co-founder, CEO, CTO, CEO, whatever. Sounds very cool. You get invited to a few events. And so that's the wrong motivation to do things like this. These things don't last for that long. But again, if I look at the current, 2019 honestly was a seminal year for Indian startups, where, if you look at all the data, it's the best year for startups so far in terms of fundraise, unicorns getting created. But what I have also seen is I see a lot of maturity in a lot of youngsters, which I didn't have. When I was doing, I hardly had any credible mentors. But today you have great, so you have TIE, you have IMEA, you have all these bodies who give you
Right.
access. But the flip side of that is also everything is on the internet. So a lot of these kids get confused. They get some half-baked ideas. So I meet a lot of kids who say, "Oh, Elon Musk is so cool. He has this swag, so I'll also have the swag." But I say, do you spend the kind of hours he works on his ideas? I mean, you get that discipline, you get that focus first, and then you get the swag.
Right.
So that is there. And having said that, my blood group is B positive, so I'm very optimistic in life. And I genuinely believe that a crisis is the best time to build a startup.
Absolutely, I
And if
agree
you
with
are
you
able to
100%.
survive this phase, you will scale. So I
Yeah.
see this phase as a sort of a reboot. The Earth is rebooting itself. A lot of people are discovering things about themselves which they had not. Like everybody, I used to be a one book a day person. Then I went off the wagon and I got onto Netflix and Prime. But now, if you see behind, I'm now getting back onto that phase. So it's a great time to build new muscles. It's a great time
Right.
to build new skills. It's a great time to reflect on what path you are at. And if you're talking about the 80-20 rule, the people who make the most of the 80-20 rule are people who know what is their 80 and what is their 20.
Absolutely. I mean, I think
For a
many
lot
of
of
them
people,
don't
that is the
know.
biggest challenge. They don't even know what to put into the 80 bucket and what to put in the 20 bucket and what to focus on. If you
Correct.
can solve that problem for yourself, I think you'll be successful in whatever you do.
Absolutely, I agree with you. And Rahul, one thing just props me in my mind right now to ask you. As I said, there are a lot of people who startup is not easy. They leave. There's a lot of sacrifice to it. There's a lot of dedication, commitment, discipline, everything along. But still, uh, at this kind of a pandemic area where everything is locked down, there is hardly anything. The virtual systems are still at least okay. But when there are certain elements where you need to go to the ground and have the field execution system, they have actually drastically, suffered presently. So at this kind of a condition, when the lockdown has increased and we have no idea, the fear of unknown and the fear of till when, there's a new kind of a fear now. And how long? So what would be your advice to people? And I'll not say kids because they're all
Oh.
grown-ups and mature to understand. So
No, but
yeah.
I'll tell you, I have a slightly different take. I think startups are the easiest thing to do. They're not at all hard if you're doing it for the right reason. Okay. So if you look at anybody from Vijay Shekhar Sharma to Vishal Gondal to Pranay Chule to all these guys, they enjoy it so much that it doesn't feel like work.
Yeah.
Then you don't, I mean, for a lot of us, I mean, I'm now working technically in terms of number of hours, I'm working more than I was working when there was no quarantine. Okay. But I've become fitter. I've just adapted. So earlier I used to always find excuse to not do yoga or etc. Today I do 1 hour yoga. I do a 30-minute strength training. And thanks to this headset, I go down to the lawn and I do a 3.5 hour walk every day, doing my calls. So as Darwin said, it's not the fastest or the fittest or the strongest. It's the species which adapts the fastest is the ones who will survive.
Right.
And as an entrepreneur, the first and foremost quality you need is this quality of adapting to your circumstances. So whether you don't get funding, whether your co-founder leaves, whether your market suddenly changes, whether an unreasonable competitor comes in, these are all external things that happen.
Yeah.
As an entrepreneur, the only quality that you need is you should have speed at which you adapt to whatever is happening outside. And so a lot of people, if you look at guys like Zomato or Dunzo, they've quickly adapted and they think, oh, this is an opportunity. How do I make use of it? But people who keep craving, acha, ye ho gaya, they will never, as it is. Even if the best of circumstances, if the AC temperature is not right, they will not be able to function. So
Yes.
these kids, so there are just two kinds of people: people who do and people who crave.
Right.
It's a very, in my mind, it's a very clear distinction. Okay.
Okay. So can I take probably the discussion towards one of the concluding points that I wanted to even ask you, but I don't know how to put the courage to ask at this point of time, because no one knows when the system is going to unlock. What would be your answer to those people who have applied, they're looking at investments or they're looking at the new structures, and now, with this pandemic, there are a lot of things has opened because of this boycott China attributes and other things, and US opening doors to us. So whole of it's a more of a very confusion state right now, but it's a very positive confusion according to me. But I would like to take your call on how do you
So
think?
when the macro economy is in a confused state, it's a brilliant opportunity for entrepreneurs. And my favorite quote currently is this quote, I think Shailendra of Sequoia made, where Ayrton Senna, I think the car racing driver, made this quote that you cannot overtake 15 cars in sunlight. You can only overtake 15 cars when it's raining like mad. Okay. So this is the window of opportunity. So if you're looking at investors, I think it's the best time to invest in startups. Okay, because earlier the startups who were thinking of very lofty valuations or who would not even respond to small investors, they're all very receptive. There is, of course, it's a very fast, dynamic situation, but that's the way the startup world is, right? And if you sit, reflect, and if you talk to the right people, you can see patterns. Okay, it's not that this is the first. I mean, for a lot of these youngsters, it's the first crisis in their life, and I
Right,
think it took them a while to move away from their first world issues of Netflix ka speed slow or whatever to realize what's happening.
right,
Yes, it is a time of crisis for a lot of people who are employed, because I keep saying the only risk in life is to be employed by somebody else. If you're your own employer, you are at least in charge of your destiny, right? So for the startup ecosystem, it's a brilliant time to reboot. There will be two kinds of startups. For some startups, due to the external situation, they know that for certain period nothing will move. So for them, it's time to go into a survival mode, conserve your cash, cut out your excess cost. But my only thing to them is don't let go of your people, because that's your strongest asset. Okay. But having said that, it's very easy for me to sit here and say that reality for every startup is very different. So, and if no founder loves to just let go of people if they can, they can't. So for a lot of startup, it's time to just sort of survive and ride out this time. But for other startup, it's a brilliant time to double down on the opportunity and ride out. Okay. So certain sectors are booming right now, and certain sectors are saying, okay, I need to wait this out. But for them now, this since it's survival time, it's a fabulous time to reflect, because for a lot of startups, when you're on that treadmill running at that 12 speed, you don't get the time or the luxury to introspect, to reflect, and maybe adapt and change course. So for both sides, I say it's a positive time.
right. And audience and viewers, if you're watching this live, as I said, this is an unscripted, complete, open heart discussion which is happening with Rahul as it is. And I'm happy and I'm fortunate that I was able to get along. And I don't know what is the next word, because there are a couple of things, when you bring in those people who have actually traveled that path, they have seen that struggle, they have seen the holes in the road, and they know this is the next level, the others going to come, and they mend the road for you. They pave that, they find the direction, not only just pathfinder, but path mentor, not mentor, mending. And this is, I think, a place where, if you are here, I think let us open up, let us ask for help. I personally believe there is no shame, no ego, how much you are qualified about. I'm sure there will be certain areas you might not know. I don't know many things, no problem. But I think this is the right time. And if I have mentors like Rahul and people who are willing to help with a attribute of, it's a musketeer system, one for all and all for one. He says about the need for ground feet, need for what is called as the ground support system. I think this community, made for the community, by the community, with great grassroots level of the next thing happening. And I think we need more of pathfinders like Rahul. I don't know, Rahul, you should get into a reprograph system and you should make yourself copies and clones. If viruses can be cloned, then probably, you should have something to clone such kind of people as well. And I hope biotechnologists and all the molecular scientists should be working on such kind of cloning and making them viral rather than the COVID-19. Right. So with that sense of a high note and high energy, I would like to thank Rahul for being on the show. Rahul, thank you so much. And there's a lot of insights. Guys, you should actually pause somewhere, go back, rewind, go slow, because he has told a lot of things which are like bullets. Go back and, I think you need some time to chew that, masticate it so that you understand this. It is not that easy to sit here and give this talk like, without any script. I understand that. And probably the last point, just before I can say goodbye to you, I think what Rahul has said, many people, you can go back to a lot of interviews, everyone says, this is the time. to go inside. This is a time when you can actually mirror yourself and see that what you want to be. So we have that burning desire. Now you make the burning motivations to an implementation process, get the right guidance, get the right mentors, get the right books or whatever is required. And probably if you have any kind of things that you want to know from us, it will be there in the comments. Rahul will definitely be tagged in there. I'm sure he will not find a problem to, answer if it is really there. I might get in touch with him or probably both of us. We don't mind, if there is any kind of comments that needs whatever little we know. And definitely Rahul is there as well to guide you on that front. You can log into the LinkedIn networks and other places where he is conducting a lot of sessions with other places. So with that, if you found this is good, if you have stayed still so far, I know that you are there, you are understanding, observing and liking this. But now it is a time to implement. Take the right hand or left hand, press that button where it can go to those people who needs the right dose as this time. So with that, thank you. Namaste. Stay safe, stay blessed and stay inside.
Thank you. Thank you.